Welcome back to The Heat. The fate of Dilma Rousseff's presidency in Brazil and the US presidential race continues to dominate headlines around the world. Let's get back to our panel. Let's go, of course, to Brazil. Leo Sequeira is with us still. Leo, we had a kind of nice break from Brazilian politics. The Olympics were quite an amazing feat. But now we're back. Dilma Rousseff's trial for manipulating financial figures about to start. Will she not be president? What's going to happen?
Well, even Dilma herself has started to take her own belongings from the Planalto. So this is a clear indication that herself is not believing she will survive to this process. I think that we need to look beyond the impeachment process itself, because, you know, independently, if Temer becomes the new interim president, he's likely to face a lot of pressure, even from the main party which is supporting him right now, which is PSDB, that they just threatened PMDB and Michel Temer to leave them if they don't agree to forget an increase in the judge's wages. So there are some pressures that are likely to, and of course Dilma and the left trying to look at and try to question the merits of the process just in order to gain more time and maybe to try to keep them alive for the elections in 2018.
Because Temer is only not allowed to run in the presidential election, correct? He has 2 years for the term and there wouldn't be. Could you address that? And also, just generally, how destabilizing is this for Brazil, considering the economic downturn that they're having is the worst in decades?
Well, I think that's the clear challenge that Michel Temer has ahead. Investors are still somewhat not optimistic about the situation of Brazil, and in fact, most investors and even politicians, most companies in Brazil are just waiting for this process to have an end, so they can start planning and trying to start seeing a future. I think that the global economy and investors in general are not just sure about Brazil, and I think that the main challenge for Brazil is to show to the world that it can address its short-term challenges, both politically and economically.
Ching-yi, China's invested tens of billions of dollars in Brazil, obviously looking to expand infrastructure where it does best. Will they continue to do so, and what are the gains that we've seen in Brazil so far?
Yeah, as you may know, official Brazilian delegation is heading to China to meet its investor in China on the sidelines of G20 summit. And the head of delegation said, you know, Brazil is facing a very serious crisis right now in the country, so they need huge investment from outside to boost its economy. And especially they hope China can invest more. And China already signed several important infrastructure projects with Brazil. One of the most important one is the high-speed railway in Brazil's two largest cities, Rio, and in between Rio and Sao Paulo.
Which is going to be incredible if it works.
But it has been delayed because the economy situation in Brazil. But the two countries is trying to revive this project. And other than infrastructure, China has already invested in a lot of other fields, including oil, gas, and agriculture, and also the electricity power, etc. And that helped to enhance and improve the two countries' relationship. So this kind of investment will definitely help and also to enhance the cooperation between the two countries in the long run.
Yasmin, I have to ask you about the Olympics. What did you think?
I think they were great, and I think what it did for Brazil was it answered a lot of the questions and some of the planning processes. I mean, it was the beginning of the Olympic process. The opening ceremonies were against the backdrop of nonstop criticism of the sanitation of the country and whether the Zika virus is going to, put a damper on the ceremonies. And it ended up in the end being a successful Olympic Games. And I think it kind of answered a lot of the questions that Brazil could pull this off without any major terrorist attacks or any major crime issues or anything like that. However, now they're going to be dealing with another PR issue of sorts with the impeachment of the president. So we'll see. But the Olympic Games, I mean, the soccer team took home a major gold. And that for them was, I think, the boost that they needed morally.
Yes, crime was so low they even had to make some crimes up, didn't they, the American swimmers? Anyway,
So
Holger, what do you think?
I liked the incident around the US swimmers, Ryan Lochte and others, because it reminded us that everybody might fail, even the best athlete from the most powerful country in the world. So that gave us some decency.
We're all human, you mean?
That's true.
Let's turn to the American election, which actually may be over by November. It's been it's been going on for a long time. It's got really nasty, hasn't it, Yasmin?
It's been, I mean, the mudslinging is at a different level now. And I think, what we saw yesterday was, I think, a disservice to American voters who really need to hear their candidates, no matter what your partisanship is, on the topics. And I think the trading of jabs on who's the bigger bigot is not really speaking to a true policy point that so many Americans right now need to hear about, which is the issue of race. And I think that, just name calling on either side doesn't service anybody and is not helpful. But, I mean, there's a reason why we call this election season silly season, because the topics and the way that it's done between Twitter and Facebook posts and, campaign rallies, it doesn't really speak to some of the major issues. And I think that the reason why a lot of us are looking forward to the debate is because it's a moderated discussion where the two candidates can actually speak on the subject rather than go off of their talking points, as I said, slinging mud at each other at their, back-to-back campaign rallies.
That's about a month away, but Holger, before that, Hillary Clinton hasn't held a press conference in nearly a year. Where she actually gets asked pointed questions, not by moderators, but by journalists. Donald Trump seems to just sort of appear on TV shows and say exactly what he thinks, regardless of the questions. Why are both of these candidates not dealing with the media in ways that we've seen in the past?
Well, actually, I think both have their weaknesses, especially Hillary Clinton. She's not really good when it comes to live situations where she has to react on things that the audience or journalists asking them. And Donald Trump is an ego shooter par excellence, who never wants to respond to the agenda of other people, but just doing his own thing. But we've reached a very interesting point now. Trump is so much in a deep hole right now that he has to do something, and he basically decided to shift and turn around on some major issues. Deportation of illegal immigrants, for example, has been the latest.
I want to break you off there, because let's have a listen to his position.
We're going to obey the existing laws. Now, the existing laws are very strong. The existing laws, the first thing we're going to do, if and when I win, is we're going to get rid of all of the bad ones. We got gang members, we have killers, we have a lot of bad people that have to get out of this country. We're going to get them out, and the police know who they are. They're known by law enforcement who they are. We don't do anything. They go around killing people and hurting people, and they're going to be out of this country so fast your head will spin. We have existing laws that allow you to do that. As far as everybody else, we're going to go through the process.
Yasmin, the bad people, he's talking about illegal immigrants here, but he's also still sticking by vigorous vetting of people coming in who are essentially Muslims as well.
So as early as this morning, there were remarks from the Trump camp that they, in theory, this policy would be making all of the illegal immigrants leave and then come back through a vetted process. I mean, the practicality and the logistics and the money that this plan to even see it through, I don't think is even feasible. However, if this were to happen, he promises that if on day one, the first document that he would sign is getting the bad ones out, which he cryptically teases is something that police officers already know how to do, or law enforcement in the United States knows how to do. I mean, I don't know. The way that he's kind of phrased his immigration policy, if you will, has been even criticized by his most loyal supporters. Sarah Palin most recently has come out and said, look, this is kind of like a flip-flop. And so I don't know. I mean, I think that the Trump campaign needs to make up their mind on what their immigration stance is.
The polls show her with a 10-point lead, and also especially in the swing states where you have to win. What's the view in China? Are they getting ready for a Hillary Clinton presidency, or are they still kind of like, wow, this Trump guy's different?
Well, it's really hard to say right now. Since I covered the 2000 and 2012 and this year's election, it's really hard to predict what will happen. For example...
really? You think you still don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Having covered those elections?
Look back at 2012. It was a close race. Mitt Romney might win, but...
Not that.
Because it's... But his 47th comment did hurt him, and then he lost the campaign. And this year, we still see WikiLeaks have promised they will release something harmful surrounding Hillary Clinton. We already see WikiLeaks released something that hurts the Democrat convention, especially the chairwoman. So it's really hard to say for now that who might win until November 8th.
October surprise, maybe. Leo in Brazil, how's all this looking from Brazil? I presume they think, well, the US system maybe is messed up, if not more than ours.
Well, I don't think that Brazilian relations with the U.S. will change, not at least in the short term. Of course, if Trump wins, which I doubt, Brazil would be more aligned with the U.S., since in Brazil we would have right-wing presidents at the office. But I don't think relations with Brazil will change, not at least in the short term. We need just to wait. As your previous guest commented, it's very hard to say, to predict. We have to wait and see and how this is gonna develop. But I don't anticipate any change in the U.S.-Brazil relations in the short term.
Leo, while I have you there, we're going to end with, what do you think the next big story is going to be? You've got 30 seconds of what we're going to look out for the next month.
Well, I think the big story will be how interim President Michel Temer will handle politics, as he's facing pressure from the main party supporting him, and how he's going to address the short-term economic and political problems that Brazil has.
Holger, next big story for you?
Look at more leaks to come in the US presidential race, what we just mentioned a little bit. WikiLeaks published the Democratic Party mails already. There's more in the pipeline. That might be the wild card in the presidential race over the next 8 weeks.
Yes, me.
I think for me, it really has to be race and politics. I think we have not heard the last of this. It was dismissed as a fringe issue and a political tactic and tool up until this point. And I think there are so many voices that still need to be heard. And these presidential candidates and whoever the next administration is needs to address them in earnest. This is a big issue facing American society right now.
Which could also hang over past November, obviously.
Absolutely.
Ching-yi.
Of course, G20 summit in Hangzhou, the most splendid city in Marco Polo's eyes.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful city. And also, it will be the last visit by President Obama to China. This will be the third one and last one for him. So we will see what's going on there.
Quite a legacy on US-China relations, both hopeful and not so hopeful as well. For me, the TPP is the big one, Trans-Pacific Partnership, especially in the next couple of months. If they can't get it through a lame duck session of Congress after the election, it's probably going to be dead. And the implications of that for US policy in Asia, the rebalance, the pivot, are going to be quite tremendous. So it's going to be very interesting. Thanks for a great discussion. We always love doing this once a month. Thanks so much. And thanks for watching at home. That's it for this edition of The Heat. I'm Nathan King in Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching.